So, hello everybody. Welcome once again. Good afternoon from Ghana. Good morning from Mexico. And good evening from maybe Dubai. I'm not so sure. But good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are joining us from. And welcome to the Open All Hands. Today, as you guys can see my screen, I'm sure you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
We prepared this.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we can.
But there is
We prepared this.
now it's perfect. Now there is no black box in front of it.
Yeah. Thank you, Raphael. We prepared this special agenda something for you guys, and I'm sure it looks good. Thank you to all those who made it happen, Lucas and Ayu. So guys, today this is our agenda. Oh, and I'm your host today. My name is Priscilla, the lovely Priscilla. So I'll be officiating today's event. And on our agenda, first of all, we are going to have a discussion on how we should have a retrospective, how often we should have it, and to be led by our very own Raphael Presser, aka Maxwell. And secondly, we are going to have discussion on the payments in regards to having a stable coin, and Jan will be the one to take that over. Then lastly, we are going to have another discussion from the analytics circle. I believe it will be led by Ella. So guys, stay tuned. And if you have any question, please raise your hand. Use the emoji to raise your hand, and you'll be given the permission to unmute and speak. Feel free to ask questions. So to kick the ball rolling, Raphael, you would have to lead us for the first thing. Yeah.
So I have a first question then. Who decided it would be me to present this first topic in the agenda?
Well, I figured you'd be the best person to talk about this. I decided though.
Okay then. If you decided it, it's a good decision. Yeah. So okay. I'm gonna also request Ayo's assistance here because he is mainly taking care of reaching out to teams and in direct contact with teams regarding this. But the main topic here, the main issue here is we realized that it might be fatiguing members. It might be problematic the fact that we have monthly reports, right, for circles. And one thing that we are working on is to reduce this fatigue processes, not only for reports, but also for meetings and so on. We don't want to have too much bureaucracy interfering in the activities of circles that can reflect in a not good performance from our for the program itself. So with that in mind, we would like to hear from you what's the ideal frequency that you would like to work with these reports. And I believe we can also extend a bit in the sense of understanding what's the best approach to have this. Currently we have these written documents where we put insights and what happened and so on. But we can also have it in a different way, considering your suggestions, if it's feasible and if it keeps the quality of it in the sense of us understanding what's going in each circle and also how that impacts the program, right? So I would indeed bring Ayo into this discussion Ayo, are you there?
Yes, yes, I am, Raphael.
Yeah,
Yes, I
okay.
am.
So Ayo, before
Yeah,
we jump in the
okay.
round on members, if you have something to consider as well, please.
Okay. Can I go ahead now?
Yes, please. The floor is
All right.
yours.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So, Ella, are you in the building? If you are, and if you're able to share, if you're able to share screen at some point, that would be nice. Right. So the context or the background is something that we're all familiar with. Usually, we would have the retrospective reports at the last all hands of the month. Now, that usually meant that we would have it at the second all hands on the month. Now, for some months, the second all hands would fall on the third Wednesday of the month, which means that there have been situations where it was practically 18th or 19th or 17th of the month, and we are having to give report for that month. The back and forth of it is that with the way we did it, there is always 4 weeks between each retrospective report. At least there's always 28 days. Sometimes we have more. There was also the argument that maybe all hands, retrospective all hands should happen the first Wednesday of the new month so that we all can have at least the completed month before we, give report for that month. And in the coordinators channel, I think it was Judith who brought up to say BizDev couldn't get some reports in because they were traveling, they had BGI going on, and then it was not yet the end of the month. And so the conversation started. And so from what we gathered from the poll, which I think quite a number of us here, everyone was invited to Lumio for the poll, and I think quite a number of us here voted. We saw that more people favored less frequent retrospective reports. That is, there were more for quarterly and more for bi-monthly than monthly. So so that's the background, and I think that we have to make a decision today, but it's also nice to talk about it. It's a decision making classic decision making scenario, and then we also would like to hear from people what people think, and then we can of course chart a way forward. Raphael, I hope that was enough for context, or would you like me to share the Lumio poll?
Well, yeah, for those that didn't have access, it's interesting to bring to this call here, as we have most of people, just the highlights of it here. Can you now?
Yeah, just give me a second. Priska, you can continue in case somebody else wants to say something while I fetch Lumio screen.
Okay. So I'm sure a lot of us here already know what the conversation is about. So if you like to contribute or want to start with the conversation, you could just unmute and start with the conversation. And actually, I'm expecting a lot of the coordinators to contribute to this, since they will be the ones normally to present on the retrospective. So coordinators, the ball is in your court. You could unmute and start with the conversation. Let us know what you think, even after the votes were made. Any other things you want to say concerning that in regard? You could object to it though. You could object. You could say, oh no, I still want it every month. I still want to have it every month, and maybe first week in the month or maybe last week in the month. You could just, whatever your thoughts are.
If nobody has anything to say about this topic, I'll happily fill in all the space available, but I'm not sure if that is the most desired thing right now. I would prefer have the community give their opinion first, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also prefer everybody to give their opinion before you do.
I can give my opinion real quick. Yeah, I think for me, the reports is a great place for coordination to know what the other circles are doing. Should be just something quick and you know what's happening in the funding, you can see where to collaborate. You also can keep track of the program in different areas. So I think they're useful. And I think monthly would be the best. I voted monthly. I'm concerned about doing it less regularly because I think in a big organization where everyone is working independently, this coordination is really important. So I'm concerned about outcomes that will result from this vote. However, I'm fine with whatever we decide to get a circle. Of course, personally, I don't mind doing less work. For of deep funding, I'm concerned with the potential outcomes of reducing the few moments we have for coordination, and I think monthly is not even that hard to do personally.
Yeah, thank you, Cardozo. By the way, Ayo, a question that I didn't make before. These undecided ones here that we have in the poll, is this because people didn't vote, or it was that's the case, right? It's not because it was an option for voting.
Yeah, this were the people who did not vote, people who have been onboarded on Lumio but did not vote on this issue.
Yeah. This is yet another topic that not necessarily we are going to make today, and I talked to data analytics with Oscar about this engagement, and if this is a regular engagement, it's basically what we had as well in another discussion. If this is something that normally happens, not having engagement of members in such open community, or if this is something that we could improve to bring more engagement into this type of questions that are directly related to what you do and also the outcomes of such work, right? But okay.
Ayan, please go ahead.
Yeah, since there are not 10 people waiting in line, and you know, we already did the poll. Everybody had their chance to discuss this also on the all channels, etc. So I don't think we necessarily need to go through the motions here again, unless people have a very clear idea they want to add what was already done. So I think the result is pretty clear. I think Cardoso, you're part of a small minority, but you got your voice heard, so chapeau for that. There are two ways of looking at these results. One way is you could say, well, quarterly is the winner. Let's go for quarterly. You could also say there are 16 people that want to do it 2 months or less, every 2 months or less, and 16 people that want to do it quarterly. So you could say in that sense it's a draw. I think it's not that material whether we do it every 2 months or quarterly. I do see some connection to an intention that we had to have more budget steered processes. So we have these budgets at every half yearly report. We ask, what are you expecting to spend? But we don't really do midterm checks on where you are. So yeah, I think that could be a focus point in these meetings. And Yeah, whether it's better done every 2 months or quarterly, I'm not sure. If we do it every 2 months, we would have an option, for instance, to have every second month do something else. For instance, think about products. We don't give a lot of space here on all the product development, but there's a lot going on there, and I'm not sure if it would all fit into one meeting. So we could do it one month around products and the other month around circles and processes and so on. But not entirely sure yet. I'm also not sure if we need to make a decision right now. But based on this, what I would say, advisory, Paul, but I would say that the route is still open for bi-monthly or quarterly, reports, retrospectives, whatever we want to call it. And then also the question is, what are we doing with these all hands? And if you don't mind, I would like to extend this topic even further. I had a conversation, I think it was yesterday or the day before, with Rafa, and I think there were some others. I don't remember which call that was exactly. And we started talking about meetings in general, also all the circle meetings that we have and the cluster calls, as we call them. So there are quite a number of them. Sometimes, for instance, today I had a call with a community website team, and they asked me, they started with a question, hey, Jan, can you tell me a little bit about strategy? And I didn't prepare anything, but then I found myself telling a lot of things of which I thought, this might also have been interesting to other people as well. Yes, thank you for that question. And it might also happen in similar meetings that either I'm repeating myself in different meetings, or some people are more lucky than others because they get more up-to-date information or whatever, depending on the state of the moment, because things are dynamic and change very quickly. So in that sense, Rafael Cardoso, I agree with you that if you want to stay involved, then maybe every 2 months is not often enough. But I have another solution for that, and I would like to throw that here as a stone in the pond and see if we can get some feedback on that in this call. It's just a suggestion, an idea. Who was it, Raphael, that we discussed it with yesterday? Was it yesterday?
Yes, yes, it was the operations cluster, operations review cluster.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
had Edwin, Love, and others there.
So they all liked the idea. And now the rest of you. So we had this idea, instead of having meetings, I think every month, every 4 weeks, with every circle, and then it's either me, Raphael, or both of us having a call with every circle. So each week, a couple of them. What we could do is, for instance, have one slot every week, or maybe two, I don't know, where it's a kind of open office. So instead of making that meeting dedicated on one circle, we'll take, let's say, 1.5 hours every week, or maybe in two slots, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, where everybody from all the circles could come along. And that would have some benefits, also maybe some downsides. So we can discuss that. Hey, wonderful logo! I see that popping up. Great work, Io. The idea would be that we would start this process by creating an agenda, a rolling agenda of some sort. So imagine that we would start very simple with a Google Doc, and every circle would add their agenda items. When something pops up in your mind, you think, oh, we should discuss that outside of our circle with a wider group of people, or with Jan and Rafa or somebody else, then just put it there. And then when we get to that slot, imagine it would be Monday afternoon or something, We'll put up the agenda and we'll see who's there. And depending who's there, we can go over the items of the agenda. That's the way how I visualize it, envision it right now. This would have the benefit that it's not only one-on-ones between Circle and Jan and Rafa, but everybody can listen in. So you get a better idea of what is happening with other circles without doing this whole retro thing. And there might also be an opportunity where one circle, one person in that meeting says, oh, wait a minute, if you have a problem there, I can help, or I had the same thing and I solved it before, or whatever. So there might also be some more cross-pollination across circles, which is something that we would like to see in any case. There is also a potential downside. So sometimes we have meetings because they are in the agenda and we think it's a good idea to have it once every so much time. And then when we get together, we are going through the motions. So we would avoid that. On the other hand, having a meeting in the agenda, sometimes you stumble on things because you're there and talking that you wouldn't have put on an agenda because it's not important enough, or it's a little bit subtle, or you didn't think about it. But once you start talking, you do get to it. So we might miss out on that. The other thing that we might miss out on is having a little bit more private conversations. And to be honest, if I think back on all these circle meetings that I have, I don't think there are a lot of discussions there where that would benefit from that kind of closer working, that kind of privacy. We're a community-oriented program. Transparency is generally a good thing. But maybe there are some occasions where you would miss out on that. Now, of course, if anybody has any need or any circle has any need, we can always create an ad hoc separate meeting with me, with Rafa, or whatever. Not sure if that will always happen. I mean, sometimes it's a hurdle to create you have to have a really important topic to create a meeting. Maybe we should move away from that feeling, but I can imagine that's the way it is. So there are some ups and downs, pros and cons here. To be honest, I think this could be very cool that if we have 1.5 hours every week, maybe 1 week in the morning and the next week in the afternoon or something, that we can go through some topics and questions and things of all circles might bring us all a little bit closer together. The last thing that we stumbled on and I haven't really figured out yet is who should be in that meeting. And then we get to payment, etc. Do we want to have a meeting every week where 100 people come and all get paid? Or is this something that is more for the coordinators? And then we can still rotate that group of coordinators. Just putting it out here in the open. And I haven't figured out that yet. But yeah, if we would do both things at the same time, we would move the all hands with a retrospective to a less frequent schedule. And at the same time, we would have, instead of all these separate circle meetings, we would have more joint meetings where everybody or a number of people can join. Yeah, maybe they compensate each other's weaknesses. I'll stop there. Rafa, anything you have to add here, or anybody else who was in the meeting yesterday from operations? Thumbs down and thumbs up would also help right now.
Yeah, that's important, especially because of this perspective of do we have this meeting fatigue indeed, and how do you see the importance of having these constant and frequent meetings? In some cases, this can be being a hurdle in each one's work, right? Like attending meetings. Each person has a profile, of course, but some people think it's not good enough. Another point to the case of strategy is one thing that I've been working on but didn't put online yet is to use, especially from us, and I would say, to use the deep feeds as well, right? To record videos, put there, and then where people can watch information instead of necessarily jumping in a meeting in that specific time. So they can have, okay, this is a 10-minute video I can watch whenever I want. So it's something that we can use to better communicate as well.
A double speed or triple speed, especially when I'm talking. So that's great. Yeah. But one thing before I give the stage to Vani. The agenda here would be an important thing. If we don't have an agenda, we'll just be ruminating and drifting and take the first topic and talk about it for half an hour. We would need to, but that would go for any meeting. I think it would be good for any meeting that we have to always make sure there's an agenda, so that we can prioritize and figure what is most important to start talking about. But I'll stop there. Funny.
Yeah, totally second that about having clear agendas and stuff. And I think also agendas that are shared well in advance and people can add to them like ahead. But what I was going to say is that while I do think this idea of having more collaborative kind of intercircle meetings is interesting, and I think, yeah, maybe we should try it and see what happens. I don't know what I think about that replacing circle meetings, because at the moment, at least the circles that I'm involved in, feels like we kind of need those meetings. I wouldn't want to see them go by the wayside because they're where you get into the real detail of what you're working on and keep each other up to date. And I don't know, I just don't feel like that could be replaced by a meeting with several circles.
So maybe the solution here would be that if we do that open space. Yeah, the direction I was thinking about is maybe have these weekly calls for all circles. Maybe we shouldn't call them open space, but have them targeted at the coordinators. But not everybody needs to be there all the time. But it's a moment. If you have something as a coordinator, you can come there and discuss it.
Yeah, that'd
And
be
have
useful.
the others more like for all circle members.
I mean, if there was like a coordinators thing, it'd be quite nice if circles could decide whether they want it to be the coordinator or if they want to nominate someone from the circle, because the coordinators have a ton to do already, don't they? But yeah, I just think those like from an onboarding perspective, speaking with that hat on, it feels like being people when people are new and they can come to a circle meeting and build quite tight working relationships with those in their circle. I think the meetings are really valuable for that. So I wouldn't want to see us. I mean, maybe for some circles they don't find it that useful, but certainly for the ones I'm involved in, it really helps.
Yeah, so I
Just,
totally agree
just for that,
yeah, go ahead,
just
Rafa.
for that matter, I think if understood correctly, and what Ivani is saying is about the internal meetings, right? And this we don't want. It's on the responsibility of each circle.
Okay.
We are talking mostly about the all circles meetings and the funding
Ah.
coordinators and so on.
I
But the
think I
internal
just
ones,
misheard
please go
then.
on.
Sorry. I thought, Jan, I thought you said that we'd be having these kind of more intercircle meetings to replace the circle meet, the sort of internal circle meetings. Did I get that
So
messed
no,
up?
no, 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 no. So I didn't explain clear enough, apparently. So the mistake is on my side, or the error, the excuse, apology, whatever. No, it's to replace the calls that Rafa and me have with a circle. So every week I have a circle with documentation, for instance, although we never know when. But and there is onboarding, and there is review, and we have these meetings with these circles. And the idea is to put all of those together, and there's Jan and Rafa with all the circles or the representatives. And actually, I think it would be a good idea to say no more than 2 representatives of each circle in such a meeting to keep it a little bit efficient and streamlined. And if we then record that session, then everybody can watch it later if they want, and only watch the parts that are interesting. And we can also use that in our lab initiative where we try to have some AI work that into news or decisions, etc. So yeah, it can work on multiple angles. But no, everything that happens within the circle is within the circle, and you can do basically what you want. And I would certainly motivate you to have some inter-circle meetings. That's absolutely very important. I'll shut up here.
Okay, Abdul, you could.
Thank you, Friska. Thank you, and thank you, Fanny, and thank you, Paraphrase too. Thanks, everybody on the call. I think you clarified my doubt already. I wanted to ask you questions, but I understand it clearly now. And then I haven't understand the my conclusion. So I want to ask again, or let me say, I want to share my concern. If that meeting should replace the weekly, did I call it private or dedicated circle call? Have you thought about a situation whereby circle will have specific topic that they wouldn't want to even discuss in a public, or let me say in that kind of call with other circle members? I could recall a particular call that we have from marketing circle with Rafa one time like that regarding video creation. And I doubt if such a conversation we would from our circle want to have it discussed as a kind of public discussions. I don't know. I'm just saying, what if we have that kind of cases? What will happen in that regard? So I'm just thinking around that very direction. So
But that's a valid concern, I would say. So the immediate, the simple answer to that would be, whenever there is something that is better discussed with a smaller group, with 2 people from a circle and us or whatever, we can create an ad hoc meeting on that at every time in the week or whatever. I can even imagine that we say all the meetings that are currently in the calendar, we keep them as maybe, so if we have something, we can still use it, but I'm not sure if that's a good idea. I think it's a little bit of culture to figure out, to make it easier, make the hurdle low. If some circle has something to discuss, then we just jump on a call and then maybe have 15 minutes or 30 minutes. It doesn't always have to be an hour. And maybe then we can be more effective that way.
Abdul, I hope that answers your question. Great. Deep funding, please, you could go ahead. I think that should be Ayo. Or
It's Ayo, and I'm speaking for Ayo right now. All right. So I kind of expected that there will be more contributions and conversations around these things that we are discussing. And so I'm surprised that I have that expectation, because it is consistent with the pattern that people don't talk much in meetings, and it's also consistent that the highest percentage participation that we ever had with polls was about 45%. And so while I'm thinking about that, I remember that on the agenda for this all hands, there is a presentation concerning members' comfort, team comfort during meetings. So I'm thinking that, Priscilla, would it be a good idea to have the presentation now so that we can have these conversations all together?
yeah.
If we have hot hands and people don't talk, or and then it was brought up and we discussed it and we wanted to have a survey around it. If we have a poll that was decision making, or so to say, and we had about 33% contribution, and we had about 66 people who couldn't be bothered, that in itself, calls to question whether that was a decision that was made, right? I'm sure that even in typical elections across the world, there has to be some certain percentage, two-thirds of these, things of these, and things like that. So maybe maybe it does not look like it, but maybe we are putting the horse before the cart, or we are putting the cart before the horse here. Maybe listening to the survey, to the report from Ella and data analytics, maybe there might be some insight here that we can apply to these conversations that we are currently having, meetings, frequency of meetings here, and things like that. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. But before we move on, Cardoso, please, could you unmute and speak? Maybe yours is in different angle compared to what I was talking about.
No, yeah, it was on the same topic. I just wanted to clarify what meetings are going on. Clearly, I guess the individual circle meetings with the deep funding team would be off without things like the strategy call or community outreach call. Those calls we have, would those ones also be cancelled for this format?
I don't know. I mean, this is still something we're exploring, right? But I would say for the three circle call, it would certainly I would advise you to go on, because the marketing circles are closely collaborating, and we can even have more of those calls if it makes sense. So it's not a measure to rule out all calls. If a call is necessary, or if it brings value, yeah, then you should continue having it. The purpose here is to avoid calls that we're just having because they're on the agenda, but might not bring too much value. And even more importantly, I think in this case, is to cross the silos between circles, to have this space where we are more aware of what other circles are doing.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think on one point, having more flexibility to book calls to like bring a topic to the agenda whenever we have a topic that we need to be discussed, that's good. But I think yeah, we need to have a balance of making sure that if we want other circles to be involved, it would be good to have the certainty they be there, and then is also seeing how active that is at the end of the day, in the sense that, for example, events calls we have with Julian and Rafael, sometimes a lot of things to discuss because during month there's a lot that's going on. For example, now I have a lot I need to discuss with you related to the community hub, both this new months, both the ones we want to onboard, both the OpenRP. So I'm thinking that if we did that that would topics or to bring in those sessions, for example, which might be a bit too much, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so that is a risk that so sometimes even with one circle we run out of time. I think it's also a little bit of discipline. The last time that I had a discussion or a conversation, we had a meeting with, for instance, I remember the data analytics team, and nothing about the team was just happened there, but it could happen everywhere. Is we started talking about topic one. And then 3 minutes before the hour was over, I heard, but we have 5 other topics on the agenda, and we never got to that. So I think that is why the agenda comes in. I think it would be good to have that, because then we can choose what is most urgent and where we want to allocate most of our time. And yeah, I think even if I would spend the same amount of time in meetings as I do today in that particular type of meetings, it might still be useful because we would be listening in. So imagine that we, Rafael, would have a conversation around an open-ended RFP on community hubs. Yeah, maybe that is interesting for some other people as well to understand. They will learn something about community hubs and they will learn something about open-ended RFPs. So, yeah, there's something in it for others. If I have a conversation with the data analytics team on the voting experiments that we're doing, yeah, I think some of that information is interesting to others as well. But yeah, we can figure out how much time there's another benefit here. Right now, these meetings with circles are scheduled on a 4 weekly pace. So if we don't get to your topic right now, you have to wait 4 weeks until, or you have to schedule something, which is pretty hard in my agenda because it's pretty filled already. So if we go for this way of doing it, yeah, if it's urgent enough, we can, and we don't get it in one meeting, we can do it in the next one. And yeah, I'm open. Maybe we should start doing, if we do it, we could start it with once a week and see what happens. But if we feel that we always run out of time and there are important and interesting things to be shared, I have no problem in having 2 slots like that every week. And it will still save me time.
Yeah, another, just to wrap it up, I think potentially, I don't know if I'm doing the math right, potentially, if all the circle coordinators really showing up to all these meetings, the time for meetings might increase. Because one thing is to have one meeting as a coordinator per month, and the other thing is to maybe go at 3 or 4. So I'm just bringing out this just for the overall
But
discussion.
your presence would be optional, right? It would not be required. So you don't need to go. There will be a recording. You can either watch it or not watch it. That's up to you. Maybe we'll find a way to have a good summary of that recording and then put it in the internal feed that we are creating, which would make it even more efficient to get aligned with all the things that are happening. And maybe we need to fine tune a little bit. Maybe we can also separate or in advance of each meeting define the priorities. Maybe somebody can do it for us. For me and Rafa, define with the teams, with the agendas, and then define the order based on the perceived urgency of the calls. And then if you, Rafael, haven't been in the previous 3 calls, but you're now in the 4th call and you say there's something I really want to discuss, then we can make sure that that has a higher priority. So in that case, you wouldn't need more meetings, but you would have the opportunity to go to another one. And then if you see in the agenda and maybe we'll prioritize it. In the ideal scenario, we prioritize it before the call. Then you could already see, oh, hey, next Thursday there's a call, and the 3rd item on the agenda I'm really interested in, and maybe that would be a reason for you to join.
Yeah, and also on top of that, to avoid this burn of time with the coordinators, there are the representatives, right? You can also perhaps point someone to go in your circle. That would also alleviate a bit what, well, your workload. If understood correctly, Cardozo, that this was one of your points, right? Trying to summarize here, it's a cultural shift in a sense that what we are doing now is we schedule meetings and then in the beginning of the meeting, we go for an agenda. And even if we don't have something particularly important, we are going to talk about that. So the interesting thing is, and most important to get from this is the agenda should precede the meeting. By having something important in the agenda, you create the meeting, you go to the meeting. We can have these weekly meetings that Jan is mentioning here, and if nothing is in the agenda, we are not going to have it at all, right? That's the whole point of the thing. And also, if you see the agenda, oh, nothing interesting for me here, just don't go and save time for yourself and so on. So this is the thing that we are willing to go for.
But I wouldn't mind, sorry, Fanny, I wouldn't mind talking about it. So this is all new, right? This is not premeditated. We stumbled on this yesterday during a call, and now we're bringing it in here, which is actually also a good example. If we have the meetings like this, similar like this with fewer people, but once or twice a week, we can have that kind of brainstorm really quickly more often, and it doesn't always have to be a process of 3 months and a survey and etc. We can still do that afterwards. But what is surfacing for me here would be great to find one or two people that would be interested in being the agenda owner. And they could maybe chase some people now and then, but they would also be the ones prioritizing. And if somebody says, this is high priority for me, they could ask the people in charge of the agenda, can you prioritize it? So that at the beginning of the meeting, we wouldn't need to inventory that, but it would already be lined up, and people would see that in advance so they can determine for themselves if the topics in the current agenda are worthwhile coming. Vani.
Yeah, I think that was quite cool actually having a couple of agenda owners, but I was going to suggest something slightly different because I think you can have an agenda, but then sticking to it in the meeting, it does maybe require a bit of facilitation. And I was thinking that maybe we could, for each session, we could take it in turns to be that facilitator, and maybe the facilitator prioritizes the agenda for the meeting that they're doing. I don't know if it's better or if it's worse, but I do think either way, whoever owns the agenda, there probably could be a facilitator just with a light touch to just kind of keep people on topic and make sure we're not running over. Because one of the things with agenda prioritization is giving realistic times and kind of saying, yeah, I think we need 20 minutes for this, I think we need half an hour for that, and trying to stick to it.
Yeah, I agree. Facilitating is important, and facilitating is an art. I need it sometimes. Somebody who interrupts me and said, Jan, 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 please stop. Let's go to the next person. I think we all need that. Somebody saying that to me. um, but I am not so sure about the rotating. I'm not against the rotating part, but it will make it more complicated. And because it's an art, I think we are lucky if we get one, let alone two, really strong facilitators. And like the guy with the hammer and saying, okay, cut, next person, you've had your turn, and really make the meetings effective. If we have a real strong person there, that would be a great thing to have.
Let's leave it for the event circle to go through this and make the plan, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can also, I mean, we can play around with this and we learn, and we won't upfront have all the answers. I can also imagine that we have two meetings every week, and the first meeting is really strict and governed, and the second meeting is a little bit more freeform. I think sometimes I would miss, if we only super effective, then we're also missing something where you just talk and yeah, happen to touch on topics that otherwise you wouldn't touch upon. So maybe we need to save that as well. But yeah, we can play around with it and figure out and see what works.
This is very interesting. I like where the conversation started from and where it is now. There's been so much change. So we've now it is settled that for the retrospective, I'm coming back to this again. For the retrospective, we are having it once every 2 months, right?
I'm fine with that decision. And maybe also as a step up from where we are today, instead of going through quarterly, let's go for 2 months, every second month, and then see. again how we like that, and we can still move on to quarterly if we think that is better. I would make that proposal. Is there anybody who is strongly opposed to that? Then we have a decision by consent. Love.
Love.
It's too late.
Sucre also wrote in the message.
Sorry, guys. Not like I'm trying to interrupt or something. I think I got a bit off track because of my network connection. I just wanted to clarify because before I got to this call here, I checked the Lumio and I realized that quarterly did win the votes. So I'm trying to understand how we arrived at 2 months on the call.
Okay, well, that's exactly the same opinion that Sugar did. So I'm not sure if you're telepathic or in the same room or something. But I did make this observation at the beginning of the call. I'm not sure if you were here at that moment. So there are two ways of looking at this. One way you could say the winner takes all. So yeah, quarterly has most votes. The other way of looking at it is saying, well, 16 people wanted quarterly and 16 people wanted 2 monthly or less. So in that case, it would be a draw. Then the second question behind the question is, what is the status of a poll like this? Is it, did we decide that if a certain answer would get out, that would automatically be implemented or not? Maybe this requires some thinking for subsequent polls. When is a poll advisory? When do we say, well, the outcome is what it will be or something? But I don't have, if we think we want to have it quarterly, that also works for me.
No, on the contrary, I actually voted for 2 months. I was just curious how we got to quarterly.
Thank you. Abdul.
Thank you, yeah. Actually, I initially chose to be reserved on this, but I think I need to say this because of probably next time. During one of our three-circle call, I think I have this opinion. It is personal, or let me say, yes, personal to me. And I think Obi share the same thing as well. Yeah. The reason for the retrospective is actually to make us more accountable, in my own understanding, to show the progress of what each respective circle have been doing for the whole month. Why? In the situation whereby we have it to be like 2 months or 3 months. Okay, let me go direct like this. There is particular events that actually trigger this Lumio setup of this decision. So that very particular concern that triggered this action, I don't see, like I've been thinking in my head, the phantom how that kind of situation will not happen, even though we extended it to 3 months. So my own concern is that whether we say 3 months, 2 months, or even 6 months, the most important part of it is that as at that point in time that is required for every cycle to report, with that very same event that triggered this event will still not repeat itself. So I've been thinking around that. And another thing entirely that I want to share, peradventure, for next time or perhaps any other occasions, is that I think it should be very important to have conversation before we have this kind of Lumio voting. That is my own personal opinion. Why do I say that is that this reporting or retrospective of a thing is actually more concerned to coordinators, if I may say. But then every single member of the community have access to vote on that decision, which I don't think, in my own opinion, to be the best way to go. So what I would have thought to be the right direction to take is that who are those concerned about this reporting? Obviously, it is coordinators, and the concern came from a coordinator that probably will extend it. So the conversation should come first among the coordinators, then we see what we can improve how then. If there are no agreements, then we can now move into setting up the pool, and we allow those people that are really affected directly to make that very decision. But given the fact that there are a lot of people that just go there, I know there is a description on that. This is what we want to achieve, and people read that and make their decisions. Yeah, it's fine. But there is actually an event that triggered that kind of actions. So which I think, in my own opinion, it would have been better that we talk about it first before that kind of poll is set. And perhaps it will only be limited to those that are concerned to be writing the report. So I just want to say that whatever decision that we made, I'm fine by it totally. So just saying that in case of future occurrence. Thank you.
I'm afraid I didn't quite follow what
Yeah,
exactly you want to say.
I believe in what Abdul said and makes sense is that those that are involved in the reports are the coordinators. And here we have all circle members voting, right, for something that the coordinators are mostly in charge of it, and they put the effort but also consume more than the members in general. So, and also to discuss these votings before exactly for this type of things. And please, Abdul, correct me if I'm mistaken.
No, I think that's what he said. You've done justice to it.
We all agree on what Abdul is saying, so that's great. I don't think that this is only for the coordinators. First of all, the meetings are for everybody. Everybody is invited, and it's also an opportunity to listen, not only to send. So that alone is a reason for having everybody vote. Then again, a report of a circle is also the business of the whole circle. If it happens to be the coordinator presenting, fine. But it could also be another circle member, and how every circle creates that report is up to each circle. They can have the coordinators do it, or assign somebody else to do it. So I understand. I do agree with the general idea. If a topic is mostly relevant for a few people, then we shouldn't ask everybody for their opinion. But I don't think that is the case in this particular scenario.
Okay, before Ayo takes over, I think we've stretched this particular part of the conversation for more than an hour. So, yeah.
Good facilitation, yeah.
Ayo, please make it snappy for us so that we can move to the next agenda.
All right. Thank you, Priska. Thank you, everybody. I think this is a very good thing for the decision-making and governance work group to really look at. I will tell you that I did not vote categorically, even though I was following up with people, and it is because I feel that that we should be careful how these things are done, and then how these things are received. I wonder how the people who chose quarterly, how they feel if we say it is now going to be bi-monthly. And I am not sure that it's going to be a good feel, to be honest with you, because it is in the same community that we are trying to push engagement up, get people to be more involved. And then one time that people are involved, what you almost blatantly tell them is that it does not matter. I think that that's a keg of gunpowder, and we should be very, very careful that there. However, I also think that what you call poll or voters education is also important. And the reason why I, for example, really don't mind whether it is monthly or bi-monthly or quarterly is because I believe that in the general scheme of things, it is Jan and Raphael that are most impacted by this report. If Jan and Raphael feel that they are okay with quarterly reports, that within within 6 times in a year, 4 times in a year, they're able to grasp everything that everybody's doing and they're able to steer the community in the direction that the community should be going, I don't think I really should bother. And so, and the final point is that if we are going to have this, we need to be upfront and be clear. This poll is just a filler. Decisions will not be made on this poll, so that people know. And then if you do that, I don't know if people would want to also poll or vote anymore if it is just filler and they are not part of the decision making. All in all, there are several things that we need to rethink about these processes. And that's what I want to say. Thank you, Priska. I hope I was snappy enough.
Yeah, you tried. Okay, so I think this particular conversation, we can continue it in the channel, the All Circles channel. So that you don't stretch it further. Okay. So next on our agenda, it should have been the Quen discussion, but I would like us to go with what Ayo said earlier. So if Ella is here, she could start with her presentation. So Ella is from the analytics circle. I think they did something in regards to the meetings we've been having and how often people participate. So yeah. Ella, please, are you here?
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so just a little background story concerning the whole team comforts survey. So it was an all hands meeting like this where people were discussing about, I think it was people not coming on cameras and some people not talking. So we discussed as a team. We wanted to find out what exactly the issue was, if it was maybe just personal problems or it was experiences that people had that kind of made them hide in their shells. So we did that survey, and give me a minute. Let me share my screen. Yes, we did that survey and we had some pretty interesting results. Yes, so like I said, the purpose of the survey was to understand their experience during meetings. If it had to do with comfortability, if some people were not comfortable speaking up during meetings, and what actually attributed to their comfort. If it was something someone said, or maybe that's just how they are. You understand? So that's the main purpose of the survey. So the survey had 22 responses, and the result I'm about to present is based on the 22 responses we had. Okay, so we asked 3 open-ended questions. We asked how comfortable people felt during meetings like this and town hall, and if they felt that their opinions and what they said were valued, or they just felt like they were talking into the air and it was landing on deaf ears. The second question we asked was, what makes it easier or difficult for them to share their thoughts or to take part in discussions during meetings like these? And the last one was we asked for their suggestions, things they think could actually help make meetings like this more engaging, more meaningful, a space where people will be more open to actually sharing their thoughts and giving inputs. So the first one, which is the comfort sentiment findings, to answer the first question, that is how comfortable people feel. In general, most people said they felt comfortable. Yeah, majority of the people that responded said they felt comfortable. Some people also said their comfort was context dependent. That is, depending on how their views or what they said was taken. Yes, their comfort was dependent on that. And then some people also said it's not really a matter of comfortability. It's more or less like if they want to speak, they speak. Yeah, and we also had some people saying it's not really an experience thing. It's more like a self thing where it has to do with personal confidence. like maybe they're the shy type or they're not one to actually speak up in meetings like this. Yeah, so that was what we got from the first question. Now the second question had to do with what makes it easier or harder for people to actually share their thoughts. And what we got from that, or the responses we got from that, point to the fact that some people, and I'm going to start with this because it was the one that took, we had a lot of people saying that it had to do with the group size. People were talking about the group size. Some said they will feel more comfortable if it was a smaller size. If they were dealing with a smaller size, they will feel more comfortable contributing. It will help them. It will make them feel like yes, they're actually saying something. But in a larger thing, it's quite difficult for them to actually come out and say what exactly they feel. And some people also raise the fact that they feel like their inputs, it's not like it's not being heard, but then they are scared of stepping on people's toes because some people can get real defensive and emotional towards certain things that people say. You understand? So that was another thing. They also fear being misinterpreted, or the case where they say something and it's like someone looks at it from a different perspective and it makes them look like a bad person and they don't want to be judged. So that was another reason that actually prevented them from speaking up during meetings. Someone also did mention the fact that during meetings like this, after things have been discussed, yeah, the time to actually go back and then think about what has been discussed. So they will not necessarily give their inputs during the meetings, but it will be there's someone who would like to actually maybe later on come into the channel, like the All Circles channel, and be like, okay, so based on the meeting we had during maybe town hall or all hands, this is what I think. After thinking about it, this is what I think, that kind of thing. Yeah, someone also suggested it. And some people were like, yeah, they just speak whenever they actually feel like it. It doesn't have to do with anyone or the platform. It's just as and when they want to, as and when they want to speak, then they speak. Some people also said that usually they don't speak because what they want to say, someone has already said it. You understand? So it's like, yeah, you've already said what I said, so I want to say, so yeah, we just move on and we continue with it. I feel like I'm yapping a lot. I just want to know if everyone is following. So I don't feel like I'm just talking to the air.
Yes, we are. We are
Okay,
listening keenly. So please continue.
great. Okay, so now moving on to the last question, which was we asked for suggestions, ways to improve our meetings. And yes, so like I said, people suggested smaller groups in terms of the breakout styles. I know we have breakout sessions on Zoom. So yeah, someone suggested small groups to increase comfort. And interesting how some things you guys mentioned before this section was actually related to this. So kudos to Ayu for actually saying that we should come up with this first, because most of what people were saying during the first discussion is tied to this. So people said that they wanted to have a more clearer agenda, and the agenda should be shared way before the meeting starts. Someone specifically said sometimes the agenda is not clear enough, so they don't really understand it. So it's difficult for them to actually follow through when things are being discussed. So if it could be broken down into a way that they can understand, um, so when the time comes, when we're having a meeting, they can actually contribute freely. Right? And yes, encouragement or educational moments. So for the educational moment, it tied into a suggestion that was saying that we should have a more like a training, like what you were talking about, the facilitation, just so we know how to receive comments and criticisms, and how to also give comments and criticisms. So we are not stepping on people's toes, and we're also not so emotional about it, because yes, people have to be able to freely speak what they have on their minds or what they want to say without other people feeling that they are being attacked or they're being judged, without them being defensive. So the suggested something to kind of educate us along that side. And then in terms of the encouragement, someone was suggesting dedicating a month to community building, a whole month where we focus on community building, getting to know each other beyond just the circles we're in. In so doing, it will help us to understand each other better. That way, the whole being defensive, stepping on your toes, not necessarily eliminated, but reduced. Yes, and what again? Yes, so another thing that was really hammered on was creating space for more voices instead of, in quotes, the usual people always speaking. Someone did say usually during these meetings is the usual people who are always talking, and you don't really get to hear new voices. It's the same old people talking. So we should create space for other people to actually talk. Yes. And we should improve feedback practices so that contributions aren't dismissed, because some people felt that their contributions are dismissed, maybe because of the way the whole conversation goes about. People feel like, okay, maybe I said something, but it's like they didn't feel heard, or it's like it wasn't taken into consideration. So I was just talking, no one was listening to me. So they suggested that we improve our feedback practices. I didn't really state what exactly, but then yes, we should improve our feedback practices so that people don't feel like their contributions are dismissed. Right. So yeah, so based on everything that people said, this is what we're able to get in terms of key insights and recommendations. Yeah, so share agendas earlier and make them clearer. It shouldn't be in such a way that people don't actually understand. I look at the agenda, I'm like, what exactly have we come to discuss again? That kind of thing. It should be simple, clear, and it should be shared ahead of time so that people can actually, maybe if they need to do some research on it, get themselves up to date on certain information concerning the agenda for the meeting, so they feel more comfortable and they feel more freely to actually open up and talk during these meetings. And yes, another recommendation is to encourage smaller group discussions to improve comfort. I remember some time back, I had this conversation with Jan, where actually he brought up the idea about having like smaller groups, like smaller meetings with smaller groups of people. Yeah, so that was another recommendation. And like you said earlier, strengthen our facilitation norms. So yes, having great facilitators who, in this case, will not only just be keen to time, but will also know how to regulate meetings to ensure that people are not feeling judged, people don't feel defensive, people don't feel like they're being attacked, that kind of thing. And incorporate interactive elements like polls, icebreakers. Someone did say that the meetings are too serious. Like we start and we go straight into the agenda for the day. So it's like serious business. But then if we could include something at the beginning, like just something so like everyone can laugh and have a good feel before we go straight into business. Yes. Someone also did mention that they prefer to share their opinions in polls. Polls are better for them, where they just get to choose an option from the list that is there and they go their way. Yes, so basically that was what we gathered from the responses. Again, these are based on the people who actually responded to the survey, the 22 responses we got. This is what we got from them. And yeah, so thank you so much. I have talked a lot. I hope it was worth it.
Yeah, it was. It was. Thank you, Ella. This is
You're
really
welcome.
interesting. Very interesting to see people's feedback on this. I want to say something on behalf of events. We will do what we can to do to encourage everybody to participate in the meeting, especially in the town hall or open all hands. those are the two main events we organize bi-weekly, so every time. So we will do what we can to help everybody. We want everybody to feel comfortable to share their opinion and thoughts and not feel judged. And I don't think I've even experienced anybody being rude or saying anything out of like context or judging, well, from my point of view in any of our meetings. But I'm just saying this to say that we will do what we can to help everybody on the meeting. So don't in any way feel pressured, but at the same time try and express yourself in any way possible. Okay, this is a safe space. Anybody have anything to say in regards to what Ella has presented? Mr. Ayo.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ella. Very good work. I mean, I know how difficult it is to get people to, pull in survey and then to do all of this. So thank you very much, data analytics. I think that there is a problem here, and the problem is not presenting itself for solution. And it is that there is the possibility that the people who talk, who are already comfortable talking, are the same people who respond to survey. So you really never get to hear from the people that the survey was about. So I think it's a conundrum. Now that brings me to what I wanted to say. Would it not be the right time to reconstitute or reinstitute the focus group? It does not have to be the same 3 people who were there at the last time. And it does not have to be permanent. It could be rotated half yearly, it could be rotated yearly. But I think that there has to be dedicated think tanks to issues like this. And I know this because of the things that were brought to this audience today. And they are totally all multifaceted. And it does not look like we'll ever have enough time to, talk about it regardless. And the second thing would be, how could we possibly reach out to people who attend these calls but don't talk? Can there be a one-on-one interview or something like that? Is it worth it? Right? I mean, people are not talking and so on and so forth. Yeah, I mean, I wonder why. But is the community at loss, or does it hurt the community that the number of people don't talk? Because I mean, there's always going to be the Pareto principle, right? And it's a fundamental principle. So is it something that I really need to worry about? And if it is something that we should worry about, then we should worry right about it and swing into actions that that have definitive direction towards solving the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayo. Any other contribution or feedback from what we've heard so far? So Alfred sent something in the chat. He said we could ask another question. Do most people not participate in conversations because they are not comfortable, or maybe because they are genuinely actually have nothing to add to the conversation? And then we can do a correlation analysis in figuring out that is actually the cause of people not engaging. So basically what he's saying is most people don't have anything to say and you can't do anything about it. But that's the truth. See, like, okay, Jan, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm one of these familiar voices that always has something to say, I'm afraid. So a number of thoughts in my mind. First of all, the underlying assumption under all these things is, or a number of advisory items here also, is that everybody should be engaged. And as Alfred was just saying, yeah, maybe we shouldn't. I mean, many of these. So today's meeting is interesting. It's a meeting about meetings. It's a meta meeting in a sense. But I think generally meetings have a purpose, and a purpose to make decisions or to have people informed, etc. And yeah, if we would be filling the time with icebreakers and educational things and otherwise, would it still be aligned with the purpose of these meetings? Or will the meetings and having people in meetings become a purpose in itself? So what will it do for the program is also a question that I would ask. Another focus group. Well, I would say let's start one initiative at a time and see how this. If we go for these weekly things with all people, that is already a place where we can discuss a lot of things. I'm not entirely sure if yet another conversational body will solve the issues. We also have the onboarding group, which is and documentation, which is a little bit aligned to these topics. But yeah, open to suggestion. Also wonder if we would have another focus group, if it would be a focus group again with me and Raphael, or if it would be more like a group for and by the circles. That could also be an option. Another thing, I have so many things in my mind. Yeah, we should have a space where not always the same people are talking, but there's room for others. Well, this is exactly the problem that we're trying, or the challenge that we're trying to solve, right? So mentioning that as a solution is circular. But there are a number of other measures that would help. I like the idea of having smaller meetings or breakout rooms. I like the idea of having a month of the community or something like that. So 1 month where we just focus on that and maybe have a couple of meetings or smaller meetings, whatever, to get to know each other. Maybe without an agenda or a very open agenda about what can we improve on the program. We could that maybe we can have that as a yearly thing that we appoint 1 month. This is community month, and we talk about the community and what we want to improve. And we have some smaller meetings around that, and then it could also be a goal in itself to have these meetings and to have people talk in these meetings. Probably forgot a few things, but there's one more thing I would like to add here is that Io, you look very much like Gandalf right now, and I think you're trying to counter the image that you had on the Mattermost channels with this new look of you. But I love it.
And the third option for my poll would be Gandalf, guys. Yeah, in the chat.
One more thing, also on the quarterly versus 2 monthly. What I was thinking, since there was also some question about validity of that time, maybe we should, or we should defer that decision to Raphael, operations, maybe together with data analytics. To figure out what is the most helpful schedule, also in terms of budget steering and so on. So you have some time to think about it and create a process around it, and then figure out what is the best frequency.
Yeah, interesting conversation we've had today. So, since there isn't any other contribution, we are moving on to the last topic on the agenda, which is the stable coin. And I'm pretty certain that this particular conversation, a lot of people would speak because it has to do with money. So, Jan, Jan, please go ahead.
And yeah, I'm tempted to say like Raphael and first, so you decided that I should present this one, but I had hoped that Roho would be here, but he isn't for some reason. And also yesterday afternoon, evening, my time, he had another team meeting about this, which he was going to inform me about, but he hasn't. So I assume there is some emergency or he has some other pressing things. But the most important thing is that I don't have the latest information right now to inform you. Also, I have exactly 0 minutes left to explain this in the regular time, but I'll do my best to do it rather quickly. The good news is that we are preparing for rollout of stablecoin payments very quickly. If we are very lucky, it could be even as quickly as next week. This week, for sure, will be regular payment in FAT. But a few things need to be done before we are ready to make payments in stablecoin. So, well, on the back end, what is happening is that the team of Albina and SingularityNet create the process that now allows me to pay in FAT. We have some connection with Amazon and a script. They will also do that for stablecoins on Ethereum. For those who weren't aware of that, if you want to get paid on stablecoins, that means you will need to have an Ethereum wallet because that is the chain for stablecoins. And with Cardano, that would be a little bit tricky. So either you will have a choice also going on whether you want to continue to get paid in FAT on Cardano, or you want to have payments in stablecoin on Ethereum. Right now, I'm not sure if people noticed, but at some point we got some pushback because people said, yeah, every time you calculate the currency, the price in dollars and in tokens, it's in a advantageous way to us. And that was related to the thing that I think now I have to do the calculation right. That the price was decreasing of FAT, and then between Thursday and or Wednesday and Thursday when we made the calculation and we disbursed it, yeah, the situation was disadvantageous to a lot of people. So what we did over the last couple of weeks, we determined whether we should take what is the rule, the average of the previous day, versus the average of, let's say, the previous hour when we are working on it. And we always chose the one that was best for you guys. So if the prices went up very quickly, we took the one of the previous day when the prices were still low, and that would give you more higher rewards. And when the prices would go down, we would take it from the previous hour, so the negative impact would be minimized. Once we have this option to be paid in stable coins, we won't do that anymore. We will just choose one algorithm, probably the average of the previous day. And yeah, you're either lucky or unlucky, but we'll keep it like that. And if you don't like that volatility or that risk, you have the option to get paid in a stable coin on Ethereum. Now, before we can do those payments, we need to know what your wallet address is, and we need to know whether you want to get paid in a stable coin. So we need to do that inventory before we can start it. And that in itself might take a week or so. So even if everything is ready, it will still take some time to have people to make this known to everybody. Not everybody is in the call here. We also have awarded teams. And to make people act and to check that. Now, one thing that I don't know that I'm not sure about is the process that Roho's team will be able to implement. There are two options there. I would have loved to be able to show you this today in screen, what exactly you can expect. But unfortunately, that's not possible right now. So we'll probably make a small video or some screens with a proper explanation. One option is the old-fashioned way where we just have a text field where you enter your wallet address and then we send a test payment, and then you need to confirm that the test payment was received successfully, and then we can do the real payment. So there are a few steps there that we need to follow. The other option is that we connect the backend to a wallet login. You can log in with your wallet and then we can capture your address. And by signing into your wallet, we are already sure that this is your wallet address, that it is valid. So we don't need to do a test payment. So once we have that implemented, the process will go faster and it will be more foolproof, because there have been situations where people said, yeah, the test payment worked great. And then when it came down to it, we did the real payment. It turned out that they didn't really check. They just said it was done, and then we still had a problem. So we can wait a few days and have that wallet integration properly done, and then we can move faster afterwards, or we can open it right now as is with a form to fill in and then go through a test payment. So I hope to get a little bit more information about that today or tomorrow, but we'll get it to you as soon as possible. So the most positive scenario is that we can do it starting next week, if we get this process in order. There's also a possibility that we say, well, the time frame for getting that information from all of you, your preferences and your wallet address one way or another, is too short. Let's postpone it one more week, and then we'll do stablecoin payments after the next week. Any questions? I hear something about a gas fee. Yeah, okay. Well, that's a trade-off. But I think the gas fee is much less than going through the motions of exchanging FAT to a stable coin and then to fiat. And probably you still get into that process. Either you go through Ethereum and then the bridge to Ethereum, then to Cosmos, and then to an exchange, which is the best way, but it's cumbersome, and yeah, there are also some hurdles there. Or you do it on a decentralized exchange, which will give you more slippage in many cases, and especially if we all try to do this at the same time. So there are some trade-offs on everything. Fanny.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is there only going to be one window for people to decide, yes, I want to be paid in stablecoin, or will it be something that you can do whenever?
Whenever. So
Okay, cool.
we'll just start. So so imagine that we will be able to already start this next week or so, and yeah, then whomever has entered on Wednesday or something, and with confirmations, etc., that this is the wallet address, and yes, please pay me in stablecoin, and that would be 10% of the people. Well, then we start with that 10%. And if it's the week afterwards, it's 40%, well, then we do 40%. And I think it will even be possible to say after the first time, well, this was such a bad experience. I don't like stable coins after all, and I have a lot of faith in FAT, so I'll change it back again. So it will just be a selection process in the back office, in the operation portal, where you can also enter your own details, and you can then also enter your preferred payment process. One more thing, and I would have loved to prepare this better, but we will follow this up on the channels. I can imagine that you get into a situation where you say, well, actually, I was going to get paid this Thursday, But if there's an option to get paid in a stable coin, I'd rather wait 1 or 2 weeks with getting my payments and then have it done in a stable coin after all. We're trying to facilitate that as well. If your payment is already issued and forwarded to the platform, yeah, that would require manual action. So we need to figure that out. And I discussed it with Roho briefly. We can just make a simple process for that, but I'd rather specify that very clearly with very clear instructions so there can be no confusion. But we might keep that option open as well. Yeah, and Cardano stablecoin, that's really too much trouble, to be honest. We have a stablecoin reserve in Ethereum, then we need to have another wallet. The whole concept of stablecoins on Cardano is quite different than on Ethereum. So yeah, we are giving you these options right now. Maybe someday in the future we'll have more options. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question? Okay. So, I think we have a poll that I would like all of us to. Okay, I think you can see it on your screen. Yeah. So, guys, this is just to wrap it up. So you could pick any, just for fun. Just wrap the We've had really interesting conversations today, and some were really serious. So just to wrap things up, it would be really nice to hear everybody's opinion.
I like how this escalated quickly to
Yeah.
a real poll. The results should go to the community portal as well, okay? Please.
I
Yes, thank you, Priska. Thank you, Ian and Raphael. So I just want to say from the Operation Circle POV, that we'll reach out so that people, some education concerning how to input in your wallet, update your wallet address via the operations platform. So in case, I'm sure people are wondering, how do we get across with our wallet addresses and all? So I just want to say that in the coming days, you'll be hearing from us a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, they'll be stalking you in your channels.
You're muted, Priska. Yeah.
That's so sad. I said so many things. Okay. We just have a minute to wrap things up. So if you've not put in your vote, please do so. You can just look at Ayo right now and decide. Like, don't look further. He's just on your screen. With what I wanted to say about the
I think
hoodie.
they're sharing the result already. And thank you, Priska, for hosting. Thank you so much. It was a
Yes.
lot of
Thank you, guys. Yes. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Raphael. Thank you, Cardoso. Thank you, Vani. Thank you, Abdul. Thank you, Love. Thank you, Alfred. Thank
just
you.
say usual suspect. That's the name of
Yeah.
that's
Thank
the
you,
name
Miriam.
for those people now. Usual suspects.
But like I think things will change soon with what interesting things Ella mentioned today. People would like to speak often. So we will be giving the avenue for people to speak. Maybe the next town hall, no, maybe the next all hands, nobody would speak. We would just be there and be waiting, like Vani suggested in the comments, and see if we will get new faces to speak and hear the interesting things that they will be mentioning or talking about. So thank you everybody for coming on the All Hands. Today was really, really, really good. We had
Jessica, can you see the poll? I'm sharing the results.
Yes, I can still see it.
All right. All right.
We can continue the conversation in all circles so that yeah, those who can't speak can at least write. So yeah, we will be able to get what they want to say. Okay, I think this is where we end everything. Bye, guys. You could unmute and say bye to someone.
Bye
Bye
bye, guys.
bye,
Thank
Friska.
Everybody.
Bye,
Amazing
everybody.
To
Bye,
all,
everybody.
all my fellow
Thank
usual suspects,
you.
bye-bye. To the
Bye.
unusual suspects,
I
Have a good rest
the
of the week. Bye.
bye.
Goodbye.